Welcome to Chirosphere, where we talk about all things chiropractic and some things, well, not so chiropractic. And we're bound to do that today with our guest. I'm Dr. Ray Foxworth, your host for Chirosphere and CEO of ChiroHealth USA, the network that works for chiropractic. From Newfoundland to Kentucky, what a trip. Today's guest is on a mission to elevate both chiropractors and the profession itself. Dr. Dennis Short started as a marine biologist before graduating from Palmer College of Chiropractic in 2001. Together with his wife, he grew Bluegrass Chiropractic to 13 locations, authored the Ultimate Chiropractic Practice, and founded the School of Chiropractic at Campbellsville University, where he is Dean Emeritus. Passionate about helping chiropractors become truly successful, Dr. Short challenges the status quo of an industry burdened by high debt, low reimbursement, and outdated practices. Boy, you hit the nail on the head with that one. Mm-hmm. Today, we'll explore his journey, his vision for change, and how he's helping shape a stronger, more empowered chiropractic profession. Welcome, my friend.
Thank you, Ray. It's a joy to be here. Love talking to you.
Yeah, this is going to be fun. And full disclosure, Dennis and I crossed paths in several places. We're both on the Foundation for Chiropractic Progress. And it just seems to be that we keep turning up in each other's lives along the way. So it's been quite the journey. You know, I've told many people, Dennis, that the reason I had no idea I would enjoy doing podcasts, but so it's been an unexpected pleasure to do these because, you know, we run into each other at conventions and events, and you see each other, you know, we have drive-by conversations, so to speak. We got 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there, and these have really allowed me to get to know people that I see pretty regularly, but really don't have much depth with, you know. So that's been enjoyable, and I hope it's been enjoyable for our listeners as well. So let's talk about that journey. You began your career in marine biology. What led you from studying invertebrates to the vertebrates that you see in chiropractic? I thought that was an interesting contrast.
It's funny, you know, I don't think that anybody, when they get out of high school or probably even get out of undergrad, truly knows who they are. You know, we like to think that we're on this, you know, I know me, you know, but it comes down to this. It takes a lifetime to understand who you are. And I was some of the other things that I got to fill in there. My first sort of thing out of high school was I was training to be a captain on a cruise ship, like one of those big things. And I did my sea time and I'm like, ooh, that sucks. I'm not doing that. So I got out of that. And so then I went back to the university and I said, well, let's just do something that's still marine. And so I did marine biology. Just before I graduated from that, I got a job with the Department of Fisheries, which is the federal government for setting the quotas and all the research and all that for all the Eastern Seaboard and Western too, for that matter. And I was on the east side. And, you know, after 4 years of doing it, my head stuck in a fume hood, doing research on chemical this, and I was doing a lot of research on what's the effect of crude oil causing, you know, cancers in different fish and all that. And I did some migratory patterns on shrimp and all that stuff. I just woke up one day, I'm like, I am not this. This is not who I am. You know, I'm very social. Like I said, you and I have met several times, and, you know, conversations are 5 minutes or less, but I'm a socialite. And, you know, I would go in there in that fume hood in the morning, you know, it's in Canada, northern Canada, and I would, you know, it'd be sunny outside. I'm like, okay, I'm going to, you know, after work, go do a hike or something. I come out and there'd be 3 feet of snow on the ground, and I wouldn't even know because, you know, I'm stuck in fume hood for 8 hours. And, you know, it just wasn't me. And they waved in front of me to run a full division for the shellfish division for the Eastern Seaboard. And that's when I decided I need to get out of it because, you know, I was kind of doing it as a passerby. But when they say, hey, do you want to run the whole division? Well, that's going to be who you are then for the rest of your life, aren't you? You're just going to be a marine biologist. And we saw it as a thing that I was doing until I found what I wanted to do. And it wasn't. So it's definitely it seems to be a 90-degree turn, chiropractic, like I said, for marine biologists. But it was a discovery of like, it's just not me. I'm very social. I needed to have more social in my life than to be a researcher.
You know, that it's phenomenal that you had that insight about yourself and then the willingness to make the change, because so many people get into I know so many people that have spent 40 years in a career and they dread going to work every day. It just is, that's a horrible place I guess, to be in. And I think for myself included, I went out and did everything that I found out that I did not want to do the rest of my life. My mom and dad were both chiropractors, and they never once pushed me
Yeah.
or said, "You really need to go to chiropractic college." It kind of happened in my own timeline, and then when it did, it was just click. That's it.
Yeah.
That's where I'm going.
Yeah.
Um,
And with that too, I think one of the things that we do with kids these days, because the cost of education, and we'll probably get into the cost of education a little later, but because the cost of education is so expensive these days, parents try to make the kids have a decision what they want to do right out of high school. Like, oh, what's your major going to be? And I think it's great to go into a school saying, I haven't got a clue what I'm going to do. You ask the average student, list some careers, and they say doctor, lawyer,
Indeed.
nurse, and then they go, they don't even know how to get to 10. And
Yeah.
so, making a decision for your whole life when you don't have all the cards is ridiculous. And so I think it's good to go in completely naive about what you want to be and discover yourself in college and say, well, then, and make it pivot if you need to. And, kids are all acting like somehow they're going to die tomorrow and that they're behind the eight ball. I need to get out there. I was talking to a few students a couple of days ago, and, oh, I got to open up my own practice. I got to open up my own practice. I goes, how old are you? 25? I goes, got so much life left. Go do something, do something that's a little off the wall. You don't have to run and sort of try to get to the end of the finish line, so early in life. Relax.
Yeah, I mean, you think about it. Supposedly, the brain doesn't fully develop until we're 25, and you're asking 17 and 18-year-olds
Yeah.
declare what you're going to be the rest of your life, and they don't have a clue. I wish our educational system did more to encourage people. Let me back up a second. I think there are some students who do know what they want to do the rest of their life. Rare. I don't
Hmm.
think it's that common. But I think if our educational system really spent time when kids come out of school, rather than trying to shove them into an undergrad and then a graduate degree, go work at a minimum 5 to 6 different jobs, something that you
Yeah.
think you might be interested in. Go shadow somebody and do it for, not for a day, do it for a couple of weeks or intern somewhere to where you really find out what it's like if you were in that role. And I think, people would make a hell of a lot better decisions by going that route. And let's face it, some days I wake up and I don't know what the hell I want to be when I grow up. So I don't know.
I have those little, existential crisis days myself sometimes. Everybody thinks that my life is so planned out and so, calculated. I'm like, no, there's days I just want to drop the mic and go open up a brewery or something.
well, if you need an extra bartender for the weekends or something, I'll be there on those similar days for me.
Yeah.
So I always like connecting what someone is doing or has done in a prior life, so to speak, and what you may have pulled from that into chiropractic as you began to open your clinics and things. So, how did your science background, if it did, shape your approach to patient care and business? Any translations there?
Well, because the only thing I can really link to is that, people are going to hate me for this. I'll get the hate mail for this one for sure. Is that actually I found chiropractic school pretty easy. Right? So as a scientist, that was, studious and knew a lot of biochemistry and biology and all that stuff. I was, single cum laude all the way through college. So it really helped with the education side of it. The
Yeah.
discovery that I was a socialite was an interesting thing too, because a socialite, someone who's extroverted, doesn't make a good scientist. I'll tell you that, but it does make a hell of a good chiropractor. So I'll tell you, you probably heard it in school all the time. Ron, it's like, okay, the A students will work for the C students, right? We've said it for years, and every
Yeah.
institute I've ever been in, I've heard it, and I'm like, well, the reason is you're actually not measuring the proper metric. So the A student was home when they were at Palmer or Life or wherever they went to school. They were home studying. right? And that studious aspect, okay, made them get 4.0s, okay? The person who was the C student, what were they doing? Well, they were off to the bar drinking with their friends. But what was happening is that when they're drinking with their friends, they're developing the social aspect of stuff. Okay. So one of the observations that I've made over the years is that in order to be a successful chiropractor, you need to have some great social skills. You need to be likable. You need to be able to have talk to people and not look at your shoes because you're scared to talk to people and all that stuff. So the person who was out, partying on the weekend developed that side of their brain of that socialite. And so the reason that the A students generally are working for the C students is not because one is an A student and one is a C student. It's not an intelligent issue. It's because of a social issue. So for me, I was extremely social, but I also was an A student. So let's face it, I got like 28 chiros working for me at this point. So I'm the A student that people are working for because you have to look at the right metric, which is how do you become a social person? So if there's anything if there's some students out there that are watching this, for instance, I would suggest that really, really work onto your social skills, work onto your communication skills, work on all that. No one, not one patient in my whole life has ever asked me what my grades was. Okay, ever. They don't care, right? You're a chiropractor. They assume you got your license. You're qualified to do what you're going to do. But I tell you, I know lots of patients that have been to other chiropractors says, he wouldn't listen to me. He was just busy doing this, or he didn't pay attention. He just wanted to do whatever. So it's that social skills that really, really help us as a profession get ahead and, really work on those skills. And that's one thing, that discovery that I wasn't going to be a good scientist. I was a better socialite really, really helped me.
So is somewhere in the curriculum at the university,
Drinking?
uh, bar night or beer drinking 101?
No, no, not at all. Not at all. It is a Christian university. We do not do those things.
Okay. Just clarifying, because otherwise I think it'd be a massive shift of students moving from one school to another if you actually
Bar night, right?
specialize in that.
What the
Yeah.
thing is, most people don't realize that the requirements to get into chiropractic school is not set by the school. It's set by the CC, the Council for Chiropractic
Right.
Education, right? And so they're all basically, you have to have 90 credits to get in and all that. And, everybody knows all that. That's you're listening on, they're aware of that. And so when students come to me and they're in halfway through their undergrad or whatnot, and they say, "Hey, what can I do to prepare me?" I think generally most colleges tell them to say, "Oh, go do a kinesiology course. Go get a general anatomy course. That'll help you once you get here." I never tell them that. We're going to help them get through the anatomy, the neurology. We're going to, that's what we're there for. We're highly skilled at teaching people on how to learn things that are difficult and complex. But one of the things you can't teach very well is the soft skills of communication, the soft skills of just interacting with other people. So when they're in their halfway through their undergrad and they say, "Hey, what can I do to prepare myself?" I go, go do some written and some, public speaking courses in your university. That's going to help you out way more being a great chiro than ever say, "Well, I know which neck bone is connected to the whatever anatomy. So
You
get
know,
communication skills.
yeah, I don't remember the full story about Warren Buffett, but the bits and pieces I remember of him talking to a group of graduating seniors and him making some kind of promise that if they would go through public school or excuse me, public speaking, that he would back them financially in whatever business they went in and he would get 10% because, he found out that the most important skill that he had was his ability to communicate. So I want to juxtapose that against what we're seeing happening in social media. Let's face it, it seems the younger generations, whether it was through COVID or just the evolution of social media, they kind of withdrew. And I mean, I've done interviews with potential employees and they can't have a conversation
Yeah.
because they're usually, like this, or they communicate in BRB and LOL, and they just don't have the communication skills. So have you seen people that have maybe been very involved in social media, the ones that kind of tend to self-isolate? Has that had an impact on the students that you guys are training, or have you seen that?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, we see students definitely come in that struggle with their communication skills. I love, our school is still small, so I have the ability to go in and cherry pick people and say, "Hey, you're struggling with this. Let me help you through all that," and try to help them through, communications. Um, Apparently, I'm intimidating too, right? So it comes down to it is they don't necessarily open up to me, but I force them to say, "Okay, let's have a conversation," and so they get warmed up to that. And if they can, warm up to me, they can kind of warm up to anybody. But think about now, when we think about things that are worth a lot in this world, something that's high value, it's because it's rare. Okay, gold is rare, diamonds are rare. That's why they're of high value. So in the world today, I think there's a higher percentage of people that are very introverted, that are just would rather communicate with you through a screen. So what's happening is this: the person who is not that has become more rare, has been
Mm.
more valuable. So now the people that are succeeding in our profession, for instance, that have that great gregarious, outgoing, talk to anybody, that type of thing, that person is booming in practice.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, everybody should be saying, how do I deal with that? How do I get my personality? And I had one doctor that worked for me that was very introverted, but they did very, very well in practice. I'm like, and I was kind of aghast. I'm like, what's happening here? Like this is shooting
Your
my
theory.
theories all the pieces here, right? And come down to it, she did acting classes. So she was very,
Wow.
very introverted, and she goes like, I actually hate talking to people, but they think I'm their best friend, right? Because she's just a great actor. And so with that, like, if you need to fake it till you make it, that type of thing, then do it if you have to do it. But realizing that if you want to have a great booming practice, you just got to have either act it or be it. I think it's better when you're authentic and you don't have to act it. I don't, because I never, you heard a statement before, if you never lie, you don't have to figure out who you've lied to, that type of thing. So I'm always just me, and I'm very outgoing, and it's really, really helped. But I do understand that there's some genetics associated with that as well. So if something, yeah, but that's just not who I am, then okay, fine. Then go acting. Go into acting mode and act like you're, loving people and want to talk to them and do all that type of stuff. And then you can go introvert again after that. But it's still something that you can't, if you want to have a booming practice in chiropractic, you need to be that. We're seeing more of it, no doubt. But then that's, I guess, maybe they should do some acting classes, not just, to
Exactly.
prepare for
Or,
chiropractic.
or
So
or go be a surgeon where your patients are under
yeah,
anesthesia and you don't have to talk to them.
my brother's an anesthesiologist, and I asked him one time. I said, "Why are you an anesthesiologist?" He said, "Because I don't like people." I'm like, "What?" And I'm like, because people think of doctors want to help everybody. He goes, "No." He said, "I basically say this: Are you allergic to anything?" He goes, "No." He goes, "Night night," and he puts them out. And he said, "That's it." And he goes, "That's as much as I want to talk to anybody." So if you are
Wow.
that and you want to be a different type of doctor and you want to do like anesthesia, it's a great thing for you for the introverted person.
Yeah.
But our profession, whether we like, we're all trying to move the chiropractic education to be that pseudoscientist again, too, right? Like, we're learning all the anatomy and all that. And so we try to put ourselves in the same categories, medical doctors or drug research or whatever, like, oh, we're heady type people. And I think that's something that's got us in trouble because, again, the more that people are getting used to AI and social media and all that stuff, they're craving human connection.
No
Your
doubt.
patients are craving human connection. And the best way for you to be successful is give it to them. And so give them that human connection. And because now that the chiropractor across the street won't talk to you, won't look you in the face when they're doing it, that's what's going to make you rare. That's what's going to make you valuable. And that's what's going to make you busy.
Hang tight while we take a quick break to hear from our sponsors. Welcome back to our podcast with Dr. Dennis Short. I see the same thing in other professions. As you get older in life, you tend to see more doctors than you intended to along the
Yeah.
way. And it's interesting. And I've noticed this more with the younger generation doctors. I had a tear in my cornea recently, and I ended up seeing this doctor, and I'm sure he's very good at what he did because of the people who he's associated with in that practice. And but he looked like he was 12. You know, and
Doogie Howard. So you and
sorry,
I
he looked
remember
like he was
Doogie, right?
12. And, and there are other doctors, and he was very engaging. He had the personality. He just connected right off the bat. But I've been in other docs' offices, and again, often a younger generation, and they are so focused on entering things into Epic, their software system,
Yeah.
they don't make any eye contact. You
Yeah.
don't really. They're just checking boxes. And man, the difference in the feeling of coming out of there is just it's distinctly different.
Yeah.
And not sure how everybody feels about AI, but clearly it's here,
Yeah.
big time,
Hmm.
and we're seeing more and more softwares incorporate AI into tracking the consult, the exam, and doing all that writing for us, if you will. And I think that's a good thing in some ways because it really lets you connect with the patient without having to
Hmm.
do all the keyboarding at the same time. And it really, I think that may be one of the good aspects of AI in healthcare. Certainly, you got to stop some of these AI machines from having hallucinations, which they have a tendency to do. It's been
Yeah.
documented. But as it evolves, it's using technology, but I think that's a good example of it being used in the right way where you can connect more as a human
Hmm.
and not be connected through your keyboard. I've often said we've never been connected more and communicated less.
Yeah.
You
Absolutely.
know, yeah,
And like I said, AI is here. There's no two ways about it. We're going to have to embrace it. You can be a Luddite all you want. It comes down to it's actually you're going to have to embrace it. However, I think it's actually going to help chiropractic because, we've gotten to the point now that you can ask Dr. Google anything, and say, no, you have, multiple myeloma or something from your lab. You can feed all that stuff into it and AI thinks. So medicine, because it's very left-brained and it's very, algorithmic type thinking, you're going to see some retraction, I think, in medicine over the years, because again, if your doctor is impersonable and you can type in all this information into an AI generator, then why do I need to see the doctor? So I think they're going to struggle as years go on. But ours, there's still something, we're dealing with
can't replace
humans.
this.
Yeah, you can't. We're dealing with humans, right? And humans have that yearning for communication and touch, and as we get so more and more distance from people, I think chiropractic is going to want to go up. You'll probably have some point where you'll have robots be able to adjust the spine through an AI robot, absolutely. But people won't go because they say, I want to be around human beings, and we can offer that. So the AI for us is going to help us with, like you said, notes. It'll help us with that. It'll help us with the advertising and all these other things. It'll help us with that, but it's not going to replace this. And that's, I think, that's what we have as an asset for our profession. So, I'd like to see more people go to chiropractic school because, it's everything. Wherever, robotics in car manufacturing replaced a lot of workers and robotic welders and all that stuff. So as every technology advance, workers get eliminated. Okay. And this AI is going to eliminate a lot of workers. You might as well just accept it. That's what it is. But you got to think a lawyer years ago, if you just said, hey, I need a lease I've got a rental property and I want to lease something, uh, they charge you $1,000 to write print because they just changed your name. And so people's like, this is ridiculous, right? Like, why am I spending $1,000 and you took 5 minutes to do this, right? And so anyway, that's replacing AI. Now you can say, hey, can you write me a lease? Da, 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 and AI can do it for free.
Yeah,
So, the way this goes is whenever somebody is a pain in the butt, okay, hey, my secretary never shows up for work, da da da. That's what AI is going to replace. It's going to replace that person is because the employers are basically saying, I can't tolerate this anymore, and now I can get an AI generator to do your job. So you get rid of the lower base wage people. So you're going to see elimination of jobs, absolutely. But I don't think you're going to see elimination of chiropractic because of it.
I was reading an article recently on AI, and it made the statement that yes, AI is going to replace some employees, but it is not going to replace employees who know how to utilize AI
Right.
because it's only
Absolutely.
as good as your inputs and your prompts, and I mean that's a skill set in and of itself. So good idea to perhaps focus on that.
Oh yeah,
You know,
you don't want to be a Luddite and say I refuse to deal with it,
yeah,
And the belief that this is sort of the matrix and somehow AI is going to take over the world is a little bit. a little bit Hollywood, overemphasize and
Yeah.
put it like, yeah, but like, what are you embracing or you don't embrace? It's still coming. So it comes down to you might as well just go up and become one with it and say, how do I still keep myself relevant in the process of all of these changes?
Well, I have a solution if it ever tries to take over the world and kill us off. Unplug the damn thing.
Yeah,
It's, I mean,
not that hard,
just
right?
unplug it. That's problem solved. But one other thing on AI, I was reading just yesterday. I subscribe to other professions, magazines, and things because I love to see what's happening outside of our profession. So adopt the good things that are happening and make sure you steer clear of the things that they did wrong. And I don't know if it was in the New England Journal of Medicine, but it was in a prestigious medical journal. And they actually did a study that showed that AI is more accurate in diagnosing emergency room visits and diagnosing the patient in an emergency room than the physicians.
Yeah,
And I think it is because they are such an algorithmic type profession. If A does this, do B,
yeah,
it is kind of cookbook
yeah.
to a certain extent, which is distinctly different than what we do. But yeah, so yeah, embrace your inner AI. We actually have a free platform for chiropractors. It is built on OpenAI, so we didn't create the AI ourselves, but it has a chiropractic undergrad degree. So anything you need to know about Medicare rules, regulations, coding, what's the difference between a 98940 versus a one, when can you build, just those kind of general things. Or
Hmm.
if you want to do newsletters to your patients, I'm telling you, when you can start speaking or differentiating your language to target men versus women, younger versus older, it does an amazing job with things like that. There's nothing more intimidating to somebody trying to put together, and you've probably done this. You try to put together an ad for your office, and there's nothing more intimidating than a blank piece of paper. Those days are gone
Yeah,
because you can just tell it, hey, I want a newsletter and I want it to speak to women who are pregnant that are having back pain.
yeah,
And then you can take the same content and say, change this to where that it's written for a man who's married to a woman
yeah.
who is having back pain related to pregnancy. And just the nuances of the language and the words that it chooses it's phenomenal. So it really helps you kind of target your audience. That's just one example of it.
Yeah, especially for people like me, like, if I was going to go buy a house and someone said, well, you could change the color of these walls. I can't see it, right? I'm not one of those people. I'm not graphically designed, so I can't see it. So instead, now you can take a picture. Like my wife did this a couple of days ago. She took a picture of her room, said, it's cluttered. And I don't know what's wrong with it. So she just put the picture and said to AI, and she goes, declutter this room with the picture. And it took it and said, well, take this and put it over here, do all that. And then I can at least say, like, well, I don't want that. I can keep changing it after a while,
Yeah.
but at least it can show me what it is rather than because I don't really, I'm graphically challenged for that. I just can't see it, right?
Yeah, and I can neither confirm nor deny that when my wife has an idea about painting something, it's usually about the third time that it's painted that she found the right color. That's the
It's
expensive
never
way.
happened to me, right? Never. She's gonna
So
watch this podcast too, so it's never
yeah,
happened to me.
we'll watch ourselves. So let's pivot for a minute.
Yep.
Not everybody can scale their practice. You did, and you opened 13 locations. You either got to be crazy good at what you're doing, or you got to be crazy. Which one are you?
Depends on the day.
Yeah.
So, actually, I have two companies, right? Like the Yes Bluegrass Car you had mentioned, I have 13 of those locations. I have another company as well called New Beginnings Chiropractic, and we specialize in putting chiropractors inside of drug rehabilitation facilities, right? So people that are coming off of opioids and they had developed either, they got addicted to opioids because they have knee pain or low back pain or whatever. So now we're there to catch them and help support them as they're living a life of sobriety. So we have 15 of those as well. So we have 28 locations between the two companies. So just in case you were talking about I was insane, now I got double insane right there, right? So
Wow.
and then on top of that, go open up a school. People say like, "You got to be absolutely crazy," and then it is a lot of work. But I just come down. I don't. It's hard to articulate this, right? I've always known whatever God you believe in, I won't get into that, but my life is not mine. My life is not mine. You know, in one moment, I'm a father, and who's important is my kids, and I have to take care of them. In one next moment, I'm a husband, and it's my wife, and I need to take care of them. Next minute after that, I got patients care, and I need to take care of them. And then I got my employees. And then it's the school, and now it's the students, and this, and the CCE wants this, or whatever the case may be. I've been put on this planet to serve, and I've always known that. And so, if you're going to serve to the best of your ability, you got to see as many patients as you can. You got
Put
to get
yourself
as many
out there.
students as you can. You got to put yourself out there. You got to get yourself vulnerable. You got to get on stages, even though you're nervous to speak in public. You got to do whatever you got to do because my life is not mine. And financially, I'm fine. Like I could retire right now. I'm sure you could too. What it comes down to it is, what am I going to do? Like I would lose the purpose of like the servant leadership purpose would go away. So expansion is just who I am. I do believe that there's not enough successful chiropractors out there. And if you want to have more successful chiropractors, and that is my ultimate mission, is to have more chiropractors affluent because medicine is extreme. Medical doctors are extremely affluent on average, and we're just not. And
Yeah.
it's sad. And I think, what we have is amazing. I've had people that are in wheelchairs that can now walk with chiropractic. I've had people with suicidal tendencies and I've adjusted that occiput and they've all melted away and now they're not suicidal. So we affect a lot of things. And if this
Yeah.
profession goes away, it's a shame and shame on me for doing it. So I really just want to be a part of the solution. I want to help as many chiros get successful. And some chiros want to open up their own practice, and I'll teach them how to do that. Some people says, I don't want my own practice. And I said, well, I got a job for you, and I'll show you how to be successful. Some of our chiropractors that work for our company make more money than like 3 and 4 times the national average. So, and they don't own the business. So for me, I'm just a servant, but I just want to help as many people as I can because I could get out of it right now and have a whole lot less worries. But I just want to expand.
Yeah.
But back to
Well,
the craziness, like, yeah, there's a knack to scaling. There's no two ways about it. Yeah. Um,
well, I'll share a couple of things with you. Seems we have a similar motivator. I think it's horrible that any chiropractor is struggling, and that's certainly been a big push in my life. And I've had people ask me, well, where does your drive come from? Because I did sell my practice in 2020, still have Chiro Health USA, and it's still growing, still doing well.
mhm.
But I really had to think back. Sorry, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
And it turns out my why was my mother, who was a chiro. She forced my dad, moved to Indianapolis, went to Bebout Chiropractic College, which is an ancient one. Went through
Never even
his
heard of
last,
it.
yeah. And fast forward, she opened her practice in Yazoo City, Mississippi. This was truly a home office. We lived in the back. She had her office in the front. I would clean out the X-ray developer, which was a 13-gallon kitchen, garbage can, high tech back then. So me and my two sisters, and my mom, all slept in the back of the house in this one big room, and I remember one night hearing her crying, and I asked my sister. I said, "What's up with mom?" I mean, I'm 11, 12 years old, and my mom's over there peeling the wallpaper off the wall. It's an old house we're in, and Nancy asked her, said, "Mom, what's wrong?" She said, "Honey, I'm down to our last 39 cents, and I don't know where the next new patient's coming from." And boy, I had no idea how that impacted me
Mhm.
then. But I think that's kind of what drives me because it's a horrible thing for anyone who dedicates themselves to serving other people, helping other people. They should never, ever have to experience that.
Yeah.
And so I'm a that is just such a critical thing. And when we talk about the reason that we're so underfunded or that we have a hard time raising money, it is because of affluence or the lack thereof.
Yeah.
and everything we can do. I mean, that's kind of the focus of what we do as a company is we help doctors get paid better when insurance is available, keep it affordable for those that can't afford it, or if they don't have insurance.
Hmm.
And so, in retrospect, it's like I didn't really. I mean, I know why I did this. I got reported by state attorney general for charging more to insurance than I did, or more to insurance than I did to cash. So I know
Did not
why
know
I
that
did
about you. That's cool.
it. Yeah, yeah, that was a fun day. Um, but it's interesting to be almost 70 years old and see how that has kind of been a recurring theme through my life is to try to make sure that I'm okay and that the people around me, the associates that I brought in, were okay. It is because I hate to see people in this profession suffer.
Yeah.
Again, when it does so much for humanity, and the part we got to address are the politics, the policy, to where we can get reimbursements up. I mean, that's why we're so involved with the strategic plan project and other things. So you got another shoulder at the wheel
Good.
to
And I'm glad.
try to
I'm
help
glad.
get us more profitable as a profession.
Right. And just on a side note here, you know another famous guy from Yazoo City?
He is Zig Ziglar,
Zig,
and
brother. I'm like,
Eddie and Freddie are his nephews and my best friends growing up. They lived next door to me. His sister
yeah.
literally was an across the fence neighbor.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome. Anyway,
Yeah,
but so the thing is, yes, you know, Zig Ziglar used to talk about this too. If you want to learn how to do something, you can usually go to somebody, success leaves footprints, find someone that you want to be like, and on average, that person will help you. In general, the higher you go up the higher you go up in society, people are becoming more generous, right? People
yeah,
want to help you. That's what I want, and that's what I want to do as well, and that's what you want to do. But you know what the sad thing about it is, though? We've come to this point now in American culture. If you went back in the 30s, 40s, 50s, and all that, you're okay. Everybody wanted to be successful, and so the Industrial Revolution, all these things come in, to try and push success up thing. We're at this point now where this ultra leftism, and I don't want to get political or anything, but this mentality that somehow that rich people are evil is an interesting game, right? And it's just not the case. It is not the case. I have a friend of mine who's a billionaire, and he buys fire trucks for towns that don't have them. Like
yeah,
they're giving away, and that's exactly what I want to do as well. Like I want people to say, "Hey, there's a picture of someone who's affluent, who's a chiropractor. Maybe he'll teach me." And the answer is yes, I will.
yeah,
But instead, we get demonized so many times about, hey, look at them. Oh, he thinks he's all this, and he thinks he's all that. He's driving this nice car, or he's doing these things. I'm like, that's what affluence is. You can't on one side of your mind be negative towards affluence and then say, I want to be it. Your body will say, I'm not going to do it.
disconnect.
Success leaves footprints. You need to follow those footprints, but failure has footprints too. And so you got to realize, stop walking in those. So I
Yeah,
see a lot of times I've coached hundreds of doctors across this nation, and I see lots of them that the sabotage that they do to themselves is ridiculous. I'm like, you were doing your report of findings great. You're starting to grow your business, and then you stop your report of findings. Okay?
yep. You got too busy.
You were bulk scheduling patients, and your scheduling visits were growing up. You're now seeing 100 a week now. It's growing, it's growing, and growing, and then they stop doing it. The
Yeah.
saboteur is generally inside of us,
Mm-hmm.
and you cannot. Michael Jordan, best, arguably the best basketball player ever lived. Okay, still had a coach. Why? Because he couldn't see his own flaws. If he was missing some fadeaway jump shots, you know, Jackson would go up and say, "Hey, you're doing this. Your feet are going in behind you instead of going in front of you." He didn't come up to Phil Jackson and say, "I'm better at basketball than you. Shut your face. You don't have a clue." That's not what happened. He says, "Oh, thanks, coach," and he changed. See,
Yeah.
even the best has coaches because they cannot see their own errors. So the person that is going off and doing a good report of findings and growing, and then all of a sudden they stop doing it, they need a coach to say, "What are you doing? Why are you stopping this all of a sudden?" And again, this demonizing of the affluent, this going off and saying I'm too big and too egotistical to actually change anything that I'm doing. And then they're on, like I said, negative on one side and then wanting to be successful on the other. You're just never going to get it. You have to
You know,
surrender your ego and listen.
Yeah, it's interesting to kind of see that whole concept play out in the world today. I mean, we just had, and again, not to be political, just observation. You had the May Day celebrations, or I guess is what they call them, and it is focused on tearing down people that are affluent, billionaires.
Yeah.
And then, and then the irony is, guess who it's funded by? The billionaires.
Yeah.
You know, we had the same thing happen with that group, that Southern Center for Law, that turns out they were getting government money to deal with racial issues, and in fact, they were paying off some people that were stirring up racial issues because they were justifying
Yeah.
their organization, because if they, and I think they truly did improve things, but if it gets too good, then there's no funding.
Right. It's a
So
union mentality, right? It's the union mentality. We needed them when you worked at Ford Motor Company in 1920 and you couldn't get off the assembly line to go to the bathroom, or you were going to be fired. We needed unions.
yeah,
But now it's at this point now that, let's face it, oh, do you know that they're getting paid 15 cents more in Michigan than we are in California or something like that? We should strike. And like, you got to create angst in order to make yourself relevant, or there's
yep,
no value to you. So it's just stirring the pot all the time, because in general, human beings do not know how to be happy. We do not know how to be happy. I don't think we want to be happy, because we like to have the drama and the strife and all that stuff. But if you say you want to be happy, you need to stop with the drama. You need to do that. You need to be affluent. The anti-American things that I hear today is ridiculous. And I goes, guys, where was flight invented? Here. Where were computers invented? Here. Where was the car invented? Here. Where was the internet invented? Here. Do you know we only have 5% of
thanks,
the world's
Al Gore.
population? We have 5% of the world's population, and everything worth having is invented here. Do you think that's a mistake or just luck? No, it's because
Environment.
we're incentivized.
Yep.
So, and so when you get anti-American statements of anti-capitalistic statements like those, guys, you're hating who you are. Do you think that? Well, think about this. Can you imagine looking in the mirror every day and hating who you are, and then wondering why you have a psychosis? Like, come on, like this is who we are. American is great, and you should love and embrace what America is. We're capitalistic. We're an innovative. We're driven people. Be it, embrace it. Don't knock it down.
Yeah. It's an interesting dynamic that I just don't understand. But that's I almost want to do another podcast one day called "Let's Go There," and
Yeah.
talk about all the things that people don't want to talk about or aren't willing to
Yeah.
easily talk about. So I think
Yeah.
you'd be a good guest for that.
The thing is, like, so I wrote and maybe you can put it in the show notes later. So I wrote 2 articles for Dynamic Chiropractic for both, I think, in March, no, February, March. It was a two-part. And, and of course, I got the customary hate mail, right? Because everybody's, you can say whatever you want, you're going to get a hate mail, right? And you got to realize if you put yourself out there, whether it's you're putting yourself out there or I'm putting myself out there,
Tell
you're
me
going to
about
get a hate mail. That's just what it is, right? And it's just so funny. You can do the best in the world, you're still going to get this hate mail. And this guy had, I was basically telling the problems with the education system out there and what needs to be done to fix it, right? And and so anyway, this guy said, "Oh, you're only just self-serving yourself, because you run a university, you're feeding everybody." I'm like, "No, no, no, you're wrong. What happened is I figured out the problems. I could have wrote this paper 10 years ago. I figured out what the problem was, and I built a school to fix the problems. I'm not going off building a school and now I created problems and I'm trying to, But everybody wants to hate, right? That's just it's
Haters
crazy.
gonna hate.
Haters are
Yep.
going to hate, and you just got to just realize, like, I don't care. My mission is bigger than you. It's bigger than me, for that matter. I want to
Yeah.
get this profession rocking and rolling and being affluent in a place that we should be. And I'm doing things on a national level, international level to try and make that a reality. And I'm doing them on grassroots, individuals as well, not just, with
Yep.
policy and all this. So I've got my hands in everything. And, if you're gonna have a big mission, you're gonna get some stones thrown at you, and this is what it is. So,
No doubt.
yes, I don't like
Uh,
the anti-American things. Back that again, but I said we're gonna get political. Here we got.
there we go. We went there.
Pull back, right? Pull back.
No, 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 no. That's where the fun is.
Yeah,
Yeah, and then I think that's part of the challenge these days is people aren't willing to have open and honest conversations.
Yeah.
You know,
Social media did that
these
too, right?
things we used to sit around the dinner table and talk about and discuss, and then we end up in an environment where it's saying, don't go to Christmas dinner or to Thanksgiving, and don't bring up this or don't bring up that. What the hell?
Yeah.
I mean, that's our family. If we can't talk openly and honestly with them, that's a problem.
Yeah.
And it has politics and anti-Americanism and all this stuff. It has really divided a
Yeah.
lot of families. And so rather than not talking about it, I would say engage more. I mean,
Mhm.
get an understanding for where they are, where you are, kind of meet in the middle, and hopefully you find some common ground. But man, everybody just focuses on the divide rather than on the things that are important to all of us.
Right. And the other thing is to think about, a basic need of humans is to be loved, right, and be accepted and understood. So I think it was the rabbi of the UK. He's the one who coined the term safe space. Okay, I read his book a little while ago, and he goes, when he coined the term, it was a place. The safe space is a space where you, even though you think different than me, and we can get together and we can actually say, I still love you, right? And you can think different than me, and that's okay. It's safe. You can be who you
Yeah,
want to be, right? And that transcends racial and religious boundaries and all. Be who you want to be. That's cool. I still love you. I may not agree with you, but it's okay. That's a safe space. But what it
yeah,
did is you got changed and it got morphed into this aspect of no, no, no. A safe space is where everybody in the room thinks the same. And he goes, that's
yeah.
not what it was meant to be ever. It was never meant to be that. So now, you get places where if you don't like who got elected as the president, you got to go into a room where everybody also doesn't like who got president so that we have freedom to cry. I'm like, what's going on here? Like, that's not what safe is. Safe is you're safe to be who you want to be. And we need to do that. And social media is, I think, what caused a lot of this because this cancel culture is what came around. And you got to understand if somebody says something anti-American, then you're like, okay, that's fine, but I'm the type of person who would be like, say, what are you talking about? America is great, but then I am the one who's got the business, so I have something to lose.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, I can't create statements on Facebook that is divisional because if I do that, I lose 50% of my clients. So instead, what I do is shut up, right? And
Yeah.
so basically, the people's out, the unemployed or the people that work for the government is out there, saying all these negative things, and because they can't get fired, I can lose my business. So we say nothing, and so because you can't get canceled, right? There's always
I
some
know.
you can't. You silence is how we do it. But I would say it's that in America, you got to think people vote with their money, they vote with their ballots, and they vote with their feet. If you
Yep.
look at right now, what's happened is this exodus out of California. People are moving to Texas. People are moving to Florida. People are coming out of Chicago. They're coming out of Minneapolis. They
Hmm.
don't want to live there anymore. People are voting with their feet. They're voting with their money because they
No
can't
doubt.
vote with their voice because they can't say anything. If they do, they lose their business. They lose this. They get hate mail. They get canceled, and it's just not a safe space to
Not a
be.
good place to be. No, not as a society. It really isn't. Hopefully that changes. So we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. Doctors, if you're offering discounts, make sure you're not violating state or federal rules on dual fee schedules, inducements, or anti-kickback laws. The fines are serious. Our profitable discount strategy keeps your discounts fully compliant and profitable. It starts with a free, no obligation call to see if we can help you, just like we've helped thousands of other doctors nationwide. Many of our clinics have seen a 20% increase in revenue and a 50% patient retention within our network members. For 18 years, over 7,000 chiropractors have helped 4.3 million patient family members get affordable care through Chiro Health USA. If you want more revenue, better retention, and peace of mind, call 888-719-9990 or visit CHUSA.com to see why Chiro Health USA is the network that works for chiropractic and you. Make it a great day, everybody.
See ya.
Thanks
Thanks,
so
Ray.
much. I appreciate your time, friend.